already like over education.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that institutional education is a thing anymore.
Right.
I don't know if it ever should have been a thing.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it was a requisite that came about by the fact that we had limited resources to try and compress knowledge and put it into children's heads.
Yeah.
But educational institutions generally, not all, but generally fail to teach skills of how to learn, how to be curious, how to discover, how to build.
Yeah.
And what they focus on is knowledge acquisition, and knowledge acquisition is effectively useless in an era of AI.
Right.
It's like you know,
And it's more experiential. It's like it's a Socratic method that how you learn. It's you ask questions. It's back and
I mean,
forth.
the amazing thing about AI is it can teach you whatever you want to learn, but it can teach you how you learn.
Yeah.
So the problem with generalized education is it's a lowest common denominator problem.
Yeah.
The education system usually follows the path of what gets everyone to move along. So the vast majority, and it's an asymmetric, you know, it's a distribution curve. So a majority of the children and college kids,
everybody's forced to do the same thing.
Yeah, so practically no one is reaching their potential.
Yeah.
What AI does is it allows humans to reach their true potential as a human. That's a fundamental right that I think should be endowed in any system that's going to take up a lot of people's time to try and get them ready for the real world.
Have you read Anthem by Ayn Rand?
I've not read Anthem, actually.
Oh, yeah. It is incredible. It basically is a story about how we're prisoners of our institutions, and education is like
that's right.
to top that.
Yeah, so I think personalized AI-driven is the future. I don't think school's worth anything today. And not to poo-poo school teachers, but I still think that there's physical spaces where kids gather and they get the AI for probably 2 hours a day.
Right.
And they get personalized tutoring and they learn how to do things. And the rest of the day, project-based and social-based experiences. And that's where the kids where they'll develop versus like...
So you wouldn't send your own kids to school or college?
You know, I'm not hung up on it anymore.
Right.
I'm definitely not hung up on college, and I'm worried about school not getting them ready for tomorrow.
The case that gets made for the elite institutions is that, you know, kids are going there more for the network piece of it rather than everything else.
Yeah.
Do you think there are going to be alternative institutions that emerge in this next like decade or two that they're going to start replacing that slowly as well? Or is working with a company, they come work for a company like Ohalo and they build their network there, or go work for, you know,
I think both are probably true. I mean, I don't think there's any reason why a large company shouldn't have their own educational institution that people apply to and they get into, and then they're going to get some...
You worked at Google, which had this associate product manager program, right, which was taking in young grads.
Yeah, but I think like you could almost see it being like even further down the value chain, which is like, how do you create an institution where 100,000 people come and live in dorms, have a social life, they're working on projects that are beneficial to the corporation,
right, exactly,
but they're also spending time every day that's allocated to them to having, you know, AI-based tutoring.
Right.
And they get moved up the track.
Right.
And then they have the social experience of a campus life.
Right.
Which I still think is very valuable. So I think that there's different models that are going to emerge, and I think they're going to come out of the private sector, and then the private sector is going to fight with the public sector because there's a lot of entrenched public interest in this, and it's going to become a social issue. It'll get characterized as a political issue, and it'll be really nasty. But I think the private enterprise is likely where this will start.
Are there any things you're seeing in the private sector, any initiatives? I know Palantir launched, like, an example of a company version is they launched the American Tech Fellowship, similar, you know, taking in high school grads, taking in people who haven't gone to college yet, and they're training them. Are there other examples you've seen in the private sector, not associated with companies that are coming out, emerging?
I have not.
Seems like a great space to operate in.
Yeah. I mean, nothing that I'll kind of reference. I think it's still early.